So, Eruvin, Perek Gimel, Mishnah Bet. So since we started talking about that water and salt are not considered to be mazon, so we're going to consider other things now that might not be good to make the Eruv. Okay. Me'arvin Eruvei Tchumim ve'Eruvei Chatzerot. We're going to do the Eruv in Eruvei Tchumim and in Eruvei Chatzerot. וכן משתתפים בשיתופי מבואות, and also when it comes to bring back the street to doing Eruv over there, so it says you would have thought you're not allowed to do it with Dmai. Dmai is produce that we take from an Ama Aretz, from somebody we don't sure that he gives the produce the correct way, that he tithes his produce, a farmer that we're not sure he tithes the produce on the correct way, not because he doesn't want to, because he doesn't know. So we have to retithe it. Yeah?
Because of the suffix.
Because of the suffix. So this is called Dmai. So it says, what about if somebody made an Eruv with Dmai? It was a farmer. And it tells you, don't worry, we have an Eruv.
I did it.
Yeah, I did it, exactly. So it says, are you allowed to use his Eruv? So usually, it says that you're supposed to be eating it. But the Dmai is also from the rabbis. So the question is, did the rabbis and they made Eruv? So the question is, did the rabbis decree also on the Dmai that it's not going to be good Eruv or not? So let's see. בכיכר שנלקחה מעם הארץ, החשוד על מעשר. This is a bread that was taken from עם הארץ, who we are not sure that he tithed מעשר. שאף על פי שאסור לו אכלה, that like we mentioned, you're not allowed to eat it. For you, it's like tevel. And we said in tevel, you're not allowed to. So this is called tevel de Rabbanan, almost. For you, it's called tevel de Rabbanan. Yeah? So maybe you're not allowed to use it. עד שיעשו המספק, until you're going to retithe it because of the doubt. מכל מקום מותר לערב, but nevertheless, in Dmai, you are allowed to make an Eruv. You're allowed to put the Dmai, let's say for our case, 2,000 Amma from the city limit to extend the city limit. Lefi says why? Who can eat it? We have a rule. Somebody needs to eat it. Even a minority. But somebody needs to eat it. Who can eat it? So we do have somebody that can eat Dmai. Who can we feed Dmai to? Lefi shiruya la'achila la'ani'im, because they didn't decree on the poor. A poor person gets a piece of bread and now they're telling him you can't eat it. You can't do that to the poor person. So the poor person, because if there's a doubt, so the poor person are allowed to eat Dmai. So
what if the guy you put the Dmai, but then from that Dmai you take master and put on the side. You master the Dmai.
The ani?
No, not the ani. The regular guy. If you put Dmai, you give master, and now it's good. You can eat it.
No, the Dmai has to be from the whole thing, not just from this kikar.
But we learned
so
chaver that you eat and you have to give master.
And I also don't know the rules.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I also don't know the rules. Who is this belong to? Does it belong to you? Are you stealing? Is it yours?
Uh-huh.
If he put it in, it's his thing. Why do you go touching his stuff? So I'm not quite sure. I don't know.
Okay.
But
right.
I can see what you're saying.
I
can see what you're saying. You say that somebody can come and fix the Dmai.
Exactly.
And fix the Dmai.
To master, to give
to tithe it.
It's good now.
Yeah, to tithe it.
Like we learned before somehow that we were sitting in chaver or mashu.
So let's discuss it. For sure you can do it on Shabbat. You're not allowed to tithe on Shabbat. So you will have to do it before Shabbat.
Before Shabbat.
Yeah, and before Shabbat, you might if you're there, you might as well put your stuff there, and you don't need that. So I don't think it's practical.
It can be done because it's Shabbos already.
Yeah, on Shabbos itself, it's not going to help you.
Yeah.
But before Shabbos, maybe.
Okay.
Yeah. But if you're there already, put your own food.
Put your own food.
Yeah, exactly. מאכילים את העניים לדמאי, ואף לעצמו ראויה היא, and even for himself it's allowed, שכן יכול הוא להפקיר את נכסיו ולהיות עני. Because even that in potential, a person can say, hey, all my things I donate to the temple, and at that moment becomes a poor person. So potentially, everybody can eat it. Okay. ובמעשר ראשון שנתלת תרומתו. You can also do a מעשר ראשון that goes to the Levi, that you take out the truma, שהופרשה ממנו תרומת מעשר, that you took from it a תרומת מעשר, אף אם לא הופרשה ממנו תרומה גדולה. Oh, so this is you gave to the Levi before you gave to the Kohen. You remember we had this problem? So a maaser, so if in a maaser that you gave to the Levi before you gave to the Kohen, you're allowed to do. כגון שהקדים הלוי ליטול את מעשרו בשיבולים, the Levi received first, היינו קודם שנתחייבה התבואה בתרומה. He took it before you gave it to the Kohen. שבכגון זה פטור הלוי מלהפריש ממנו תרומה גדולה. In such manner the Levi is not required to give the truma to the Kohen, ולכן מותר לערב בו, and this is why it's allowed to do an Eruv brit. Even though it's not the most kosher way to do it, the Levi is supposed to wait for the Kohen. He didn't wait. So say if he didn't wait, okay, everything is yours, don't worry about it.
Why the Levi doesn't have now to give the Kohen?
Because he took it before the guy wanted to give it. He came to the field before, so he wasn't supposed to, but still.
So then he doesn't have to give the Kohen.
Then he doesn't have to give the Kohen. The Rebbe says don't do it, but if you do it, exactly. ומעשר שני והקדש שנפדו. And also one can do it in second tithing and הקדש that שנפדו, we already discussed this. ואפילו כשנפדו על ידי הבעלים לא תוספת חומש, even though they didn't give the חומש, it says when you make a פדיון, you need to give a fifth more, שכן הפודה מעשר שני שלו או הקדשו, because the one who redeems his second tithe is the farmer's produce that has 10% has to be eaten in Yerushalayim. He has to take it to Yerushalayim and eat it over there. And if he's afraid that the fruits are going to get rotten by the time he goes to Yerushalayim, then he exchanges it for money. But when he exchanges it for money, he has to exchange it with a penalty of 20% more. Yeah? With the tithe more. And then he has to go to Yerushalayim and buy food in Yerushalayim with that money. And he didn't exchange it with the 20% more. The farmer didn't exchange it with the 20% more. You bought food with that money, and then you made Eruv with that food without the 20%. That's the question. מכל מקום, אין החומש מעכב. Nevertheless, the chumash is not going to be me'akev, is not going to let you not use it. והרי הם פדויים וראויים לאכילה מותר. And we're going to consider it like regular food, and like they were redeemed. And
why would they?
It's a penalty. It's a penalty. It's not that it's unholy. It's almost like a penalty when you do it. It's an extra thing. The thing is kosher. You should also pay extra.
It's not you should, it's from the Torah.
You should
have to pay.
You have to pay.
But
even without paying, the thing is being exchanged. The thing is. Let's talk practically.
What happened to you if you eat it without?
Let's talk practically. I understand your question. There's two things over here. There's the mitzvah on the food, and there's a mitzvah on the person. So let's explain. So when the person redeems it without the chumash, at the moment he redeems it without the chumash, without adding the 20%, the food is redeemed. He now is going to be punished for eating it, but everybody else in the world is permitted in it. Okay? So there's a section that goes on the food, and the section that goes on the person. Thinking, I'm not sure
now I understand.
But I'm not even sure that that's the thing. But that's one way to look at it.
That's distinguished because everybody else can eat it. He will get a penalty. He can eat it, but
exactly. The food is permitted. God told you to do something else with it. You didn't do it yet. But the food is good. Think about it that way. Good. So since the food is good, think about therefore you're allowed to use it for Eruv. והכהנים מערבים בחלה שמפרישים מן העיסה ונותנים לקהלים. And the Kohanim are allowed to use the challah, that people are giving them. And you say, why wouldn't they be allowed to use the challah? Because the only Kohanim are allowed to eat it. Other people are not allowed to eat it. So it says, no, you're allowed to. Since the minority of the people can eat it, we already did it in the previous one. Ubetruma, and they also.
But this Kohanim, that means that there is Kohanim in Israel beyachad or only Kohanim?
Very good question. I don't know. It's we have to look in the Gemara. How the Gemara reads it. I can see two ways to read it.
Kohanim,
I can see two ways to read it. Yeah, I can see two ways to read it. Maybe it just means that you're allowed to le'arev bechala of a kohen. Yeah, you might be right. Yeah, yeah. Good, very good question. I don't know. I think that's the more likely way. More likely, it's a bit. The words are a little bit. Yeah. Yeah. Ubetruma. Because of truma, that's what I'm assuming. If the kohanim are allowed to make an eruv in truma, it looks like it's good for everybody. ואף על פי ששנינו לעיל משנה א', and even though we mentioned it before, שאף לישראל מערבים בתרומה, that even for a regular Jew, no, we are right, you are right, that it's only for kohanim over here. It says, what do you need to tell me? I already know that you're allowed to from Mishnah Aleph. Even a Jew can do it. It's premises. מכל מקום נקטו משנתנו והכהנים בחלה ובתרומה. So why does it have to tell you the כהנים בחלה ובתרומה? Exactly your question. מפני שהכהנים רגילים היו לערב בחלה ובתרומה. Because that's the only food they had, the כהנים. That's what the food, usually that's what they used. They used the thing of תרומה. שהיו מציאות להם, that was the common. ועוד, משום שפסקה זו שנויה במסכת פסחים, ושם דווקא כהנים. אילקח נשנתה כאן, באותו לשון, it says, you're right, it shouldn't say this, because we already know that even a Jew is allowed to use it. So the reason why it's used over here in this Mishnah, because it was like a whole procession, so he writes the whole procession, and that's the time. Okay. אבל לא בתבל, but no one is allowed to use what? תבל, because תבל is forbidden. אסור לערב בתבל, היינו, תבל is a produce that wasn't tithed at all, that was not tithed. אבל אסור לערב בתבל, היינו במזון שלא הפרישו ממנו תרומה ומעשר. This is a produce that you didn't tithe at all, not תרומה, not to the Kohen, not to the Levi, not to the Ani. לפי שאסור הוא באכילה אף לכהן, because nobody is allowed to eat such תבל. ובגמרא מבואר, in the Gemara it explains, אפילו בתבל דרבנן, כגון הזרוע בעציץ שאינו נקוב. It says this means any kind of תבל. How can you have a tevel derabanan? For example, somebody put it in a pot without a hole, it's not considered to be in the ground. Yeah? So this is still called tevel. Only from the rabbis, not from the Torah. Okay. Velo b'maaser. So up to here, it was all the things you're allowed to, except tevel. Okay. And then there's one more thing you're allowed to. ולא במעשר ראשון שלא נקלט תרומתו. And not in first tithing that wasn't taking his truma. So he's going to explain what does it mean. אין צורך לומר במעשר ראשון שלא הופרשה ממנו תרומת המעשר. For sure, if you didn't you didn't pay the Levi, that's for sure you're not allowed to. שהרי תבל גמור הוא, because you just started the tithing. You didn't finish it. You just gave to the coin. You didn't give to the Levi and to the Ani yet. It's still tevel. It's going to be tevel until you do the whole thing. אלא כוונת המשנה היא, but over here the Mishnah says, שלא נתלה ממנו תרומה גדולה. That you didn't take from it the תרומה גדולה. תרומה גדולה goes to the coin, I think, right?
10%.
Or 10% to the Levi?
No, 10% to the coin, and the Levi gives him 2%.
Yeah, the תרומה גדולה is what? Is the coin or the Levi? I forgot already. The coin, I think so also. שלא נתלה ממנו תרומה גדולה. כגון, for example, where's the case? We said, when do you have to start to tithe? שכגון, שלאחר מרוח הקרי, after you smoothed the house with the grain, היינו לאחר שנתחייבה התבואה בתרומה, from the point that this truma has to be tithed, that this produce has to be tithed, הקדים הלוי ונטל את מעשרו, קודם שהפרישו ממנו תרומה גדולה. The Levi came
before the coin.
Before the coin, but not like the other one. The other one,
he went to the field. This one is...
That's right. That's a difference. That's right. שכגון זה חייב הלוי להפריש ממעשרו, לא רק תרומת מעשר, אלא גם תרומה גדולה. In our case, the Levi is supposed to give to the Kohen, and he didn't do it yet. וכל זמן שלא הפרישו ממנו תרומה גדולה, הרי הוא תבל ואסור לערב בו. So this is the previous case we talked about. It was because before the produce was obligated in tithing. This is after the produce is obligated in tithing, therefore the case is. ולא במעשר שני והקדש שלא נפדו, also not in fruits that you're supposed to eat in Yerushalayim, that a person didn't redeem, He's not allowed to use that as Eruv. ואפילו נפדו, אלא שלא נפדו כהלכתם. And even if you did redeem them, but you didn't redeem them the right way. כגון, מעשו שני שפדו באסימון. Like a meiser sheni that you redeemed it with an asimon. What's an asimon? Asimon means a stock. You redeemed it with a stock, with a value. For example, with what do you call those? Bitcoin. You redeemed it with Bitcoin, you can't because it's fluctuating. It doesn't have a value. Yeah, asimon is any coin that it can fluctuate in, for example, stamps that there's no. There's no.
Money also fluctuates.
Yeah, but this is in asimon. A stamp that doesn't have a value on it, yeah, which means it can be $100, it can be $5. Value fluctuates, but it's $100. It's a different.
Value on it.
That Bitcoin, for example, I'm not quite sure exactly how it works actually. Now I'm taking back. Maybe Bitcoin is like money and not like a simon. But you get the point. ואפילו נפדו, אלא שלא נפדו כהלכתם, כגון מעשר שני שמטבע שאין עליה צורה. והקדש שחיללו על גבי קרקע. Or that you redeemed it with land. You're supposed to redeem it with מטלטלים. You redeemed it with land. שבחגון זה אין פדיונם פדיון. That this way they're not called redeemed. הילקח מעשר שני והקדש אלו אסורים באכילה ואסור לערב בהם. And therefore the Meiser Sheni and Hekdesh are forbidden in eating, and you're not allowed to do an Eruv with them. Oh, now it's going to become nice. Next question is like this. Usually you would go and put let's say to combine two cities, to make sure that the two cities are together. Usually you would go on Friday and put food in between the two cities so you can walk between the two cities. What happens if you send a shliach? You send someone else to do it. Okay, that is it. Usually, what's the question? We have a rule. You can send a messenger for anything. Yeah, I can send a messenger to get married. I can tell you, Aryeh, go over there, give that woman a ring, and tell her, in this ring you are betrothed to me. And you go over there and you give her the ring and you say, with this ring you're betrothed to him and she's married to me. So even for marriage it's allowed. So what's the problem over here? Okay? So it's like this. Hasholeach eruvo, someone who sends his eruv, hasholeach mazon lanicho besof alpayim ama. He sends food to put it in the end of 2000 ama, bishvil eruv tchumim shelo. For his Eruv Tchumim. And how does he send it? He doesn't feel like going over there. So he sends the village idiot. Somebody who's not
very bright.
Not very, Yad Cheresh, somebody who's deaf. When it says deaf over here, it doesn't mean the deaf of our days. Deaf of our days, it's talking about somebody who's not capable. Usually, a deaf person who will also be mute, and he will not be able to communicate at all. Yeah, but we're not talking about somebody we're talking about somebody who's to such a degree, he's not intellectual. Let's go. He has no capabilities. That's a deaf. Shote, in other words, the same level as a shote, somebody who's ignorant. A shote is, how would you say it in English?
Retard.
A fool, thank you. But a fool, not just because of his behavior, mentally, he's retarded. It says retarded over there. Retarded, vekatan, or somebody who's below the age of 13. She'enam bnei nat. What's the problem with all these three categories? That they don't have that. They don't have understanding. Yeah? But an 8 years old can do it. Hey, go put it over there. What's the problem? Or beyad mi she'eno modeh be'iruv. Or in a person who doesn't... No, Chiloni doesn't work. Chiloni מודה בעירוב. Yeah. Yeah, but he is a little bit modeh. I'll tell you the difference. We're not talking about something like Chiloni. We're talking about a religious person that doesn't modeh in this. Again, because someone who's so-called Chiloni is not the Chilonim of today are not Chilonim. Not because Tinoch Shenishba. Because when he will do something, he will do it according to what? According to the Torah. He just doesn't feel like doing it. But
will do it according to
if he wants to do something, how would he do it? He will
according to his way.
No, he will do it according to the Torah. If he goes, for example, most Chilonim in Eretz Israel, when it comes to Yom Kippur, they will keep Yom Kippur according to the Torah. They will not invent a new way to keep Yom Kippur. It depends on the individual, but most, I'm talking about those who do keep Yom Kippur. Yeah, there's a lot of people who don't keep Shabbos. When it comes to Yom Kippur, they keep all the rules. And they know, and even when they break one of the rules, they know they're breaking one of the rules. In other words, they will tell you, I'm not allowed to do it, but I'm too weak, I'm doing it anyway. We're not talking about that. A non-modeh is a tzduki, for example. Somebody says, it doesn't exist. I'm religious. But this one, I don't. This is not, it's a little bit different. I'm not sure. Yeah, it's a bit, you see the difference, right? One is too, he doesn't do the commandments because it's too hard for him.
One doesn't do the commandment, one go against the commandment.
Yeah, exactly. So it's a good question. Would the Chiloni be the same as here? And I'm not sure he would be.
No, he wouldn't.
And I'm not sure he would be.
He doesn't go against, he just doesn't do it.
Kegon kuti, he gives an example. A kuti is somebody who doesn't keep the commandments. A no Eruv, it is not called Eruv. Why? לפי שחירש שוטה וקטן אינם בני שליחות. The חירש שוטה וקטן, you cannot use as messengers for anything. They're not good for any commandment. שהרי לא ידעו לומר, because they don't know to say, שביתת פלוני במקום זה. They don't understand the concept that the guy is actually staying over here. This is his meal, this is where he's staying. If he gets there or doesn't get there, that's not my point. Yeah? Even if he doesn't get there, that's where he plans to stay. ומי שאינו מודה בעירוב, and somebody that doesn't admit in Eruv, you see, the Chiloni admits in Eruv. He just says, for me, it's all about, I'll do you a favor, I'm going to take it over there. This guy doesn't think he's not doing it. He says, okay, I'll do it for you. You can't trust him that he's going to do it for you because he doesn't think that it's important. The other guy thinks it's important for you, but not for me. ומי שאינו מודה בעירוב, חשוד שלא ימלא שליחותו זו. We are worried he's not going to do it. ואפילו ראה משלח שהניח את העירוב במקום שאמר לו, and even if you looked from far, and you see that he put it there, שמא לא התכוון לקנות לו שביתה. You don't know what was his intention. You can't trust his intention. ואם אמר לאחר לקבלו ממנו, what happens if you just sent him, says, give the other guy the food. Give Yossi the food. So he's going.
And Yossi is going to go do the Eruv.
And Yossi is there.
Oh, in
and Yossi is there. Yossi is there. So he says, you say, Yossi over there, go give him this. ואם אמרו לאחר לקבלו ממנו, and if he says somebody else to receive it from him, לקבל את העירוב מן החירש שוטה וקטן או מן הכותי, to receive it from one of those messengers, והוא יניח את העירוב בשבילו, and the other person is going to place it over there, the kosher guy, then it is considered to be a good Eruv because you...
His shlichut was just to give him this stuff.
That's right. In other words, the main part of the Eruv is the intention that I am going to be there in Shabbos, that this is my dwelling place for Shabbat. And that has to be by a kosher guy. How it got there, that's nobody's business.
Yeah, Federal Express.
That's right, Federal Express. Very good. Very good. By the way, it's a good question. Can you use Federal Express for a get?
To send the Eruv there.
Yeah, and it's a question.
And for me, it's yes.
Yes, you can. And not only that, you can do it for a get also. You can send a get with the Federal Express.
But you need a shliach there.
Over there, it's two shluchim need to get it and give it to her. Yeah, you need witnesses and everything. But the in-between part...
It doesn't matter. How it got there,
that's
I
right.
don't care. As long as you have it now, you are.
Excellent. הרי זה עירוב. It becomes an עירוב. You see, it's not so boring. It's quite entertaining in the end.
No, yesterday I thought it's going to be boring.
הרי זה עירוב. It becomes עירוב. בגמרא מבואר שמדובר כאן בעומד ורואהו. או in the Gemara say it's not so easy, don't jump around to conclusions. Over here it's talking about that he stands over there and he sees him. הוא מפרש רש"י שרואהו עד שמוליכו. So he says he sees him until he moves it. כלומר שהמשלח רואה שהפסול מוליך את העירוב לאחר. It says that he sees the beginning of the walking. ואף על פי שלא ראה שהאחר קיבל מהם. Even though he never saw, it's far away, it's 5 miles away, he's not going to see it. But once you saw him leave, you're fine. Okay. דיו שאנו אומרים, because why? Because we have חזקה. What's a חזקה? חזקה שהשליח עושה את שליחותו. If he starts doing it, it's probably is going to finish it. You know, you tell a small guy, hey, you go over there and give it to the guy, and he starts walking, it's probably, it's going to get there. In other words, the question is, it's a very good question. You gave it to an 8-year-old, and we said before, this is not about the kuti so much. Maybe it's also about the kuti. But if you gave it to an 8-year-old and you tell him to, hey, go give it to that guy, it says, you claim he's not ben da'at. So how do you know he gave it? So it says, you don't know.
You don't know.
So you say, once he starts walking, you can rely on chazaka that he knows what he's doing. So if he knows what he's doing, once he starts walking, if he doesn't even start walking, he's continuing to play, then you can trust him because he's completely gone. But once he starts walking in that direction, it shows you that somebody who starts his shlichut, he starts it, he's probably going to finish it. That's how you, so therefore you can rely on him even though you did it an hour before Shabbos. You can rely on him that it was done. That's the idea. In other words, can you trust now that
rely on him
that he brought the other guy? Yeah, you can rely on him that he brought the other, because if you did it before Shabbos, you don't have time to go and check.
Yeah.
So, and it has to be there when Shabbos came in. You can once he moved in that direction, you said, okay, he probably got there. It's very important. וכן מפרשים, and this is what the other commentary says. ויש מפרשים, there are those who says, בעומד ורואהו. So this is the simple explanation. Once he starts his shlichus, some says עומד ורואהו. What does it mean? Stand and sees him. שהמשולח רואה בשעה שהאחר מקבל את העירוב מיד הפסול. That he actually has to see the final transference. ואף על פי שאינו רואה שהאחר מוליכו למקום העירוב. Even though he doesn't see the other guy take it to the Eruv, in other words, the guy has to walk some more. You don't have to see the final because you can trust on the fact that the guy is baldat, the final guy. שחזקה שליח עושה שליחותו. The חזקה is שליח עושה שליחותו. Okay.